There comes a time in every young man's life when he realizes that strength isn't built in comfort, maturity isn't earned in ease, and greatness never comes to those who wait for the perfect moment. A boy becomes a man the day he chooses discipline over desire, responsibility over excuses, and purpose over pleasure. Discipline is not punishment, it's the highest form of self-respect. It is waking up before you feel like it, working when no one is watching, and doing what is necessary even when the world gives you every reason to quit. Discipline forges character. It creates a backbone strong enough to withstand storms that would break ordinary people. A boy lives for the moment. A man lives for the future. A boy chases comfort. A man chases growth. A boy reacts. A man responds with intention. It is discipline that draws this line sharp and undeniable. Life will test you. It will push you to your limits. It will whisper temptations into your ear, trying to distract you with easy pleasure and instant gratification. But a disciplined man stands firm. He chooses the harder right over the easier wrong. He chooses consistency over chaos. He chooses his mission over his mood. Men are not born, they are built. Built through early mornings, long nights, sacrifices and habits repeated day after day. Built through the pain of saying no to things that waste time and yes to things that shape destiny. Discipline is the hammer that shapes the steel of your soul. If you want respect, discipline is the price. If you want success, discipline is the bridge. If you want freedom, discipline is the doorway. Every dream you hold depends on your ability to control yourself. Discipline turns potential into power, vision into reality, and boys into men who can carry the weight of their name, their family, and their purpose. Discipline is not just a habit, it is the core structure on which true manhood is built. Without discipline, even the strongest talent collapses, and even the brightest potential fades away. Discipline is what transforms raw energy into focused action. It teaches a young man how to control his impulses, sharpen his decisions, and choose long-term success over temporary pleasure. A boy may rely on excitement, motivation, or mood to take action, but a man relies on discipline. It becomes the internal engine that drives him forward even on the days when he feels tired, unmotivated, or uncertain. Discipline teaches him to show up whether he feels like it or not. It becomes the foundation that gives stability to his goals, structure to his day, and strength to his character. Through discipline, a man learns responsibility, how to keep promises to himself, how to stay consistent, how to follow a routine, and how to create habits that elevate him. It shapes his mindset into one that doesn't panic during challenges, but stands firm, because discipline has trained him to remain grounded. Every great man you admire, leaders, champions, warriors, was shaped by the invisible force of daily discipline. It is the quiet work done behind closed doors, the early mornings when everyone sleeps, the late nights when others quit, the repetition that no one sees but everyone feels in the results. Discipline becomes the first proof to yourself that you are capable of holding your life together. It becomes the seed that grows into maturity, strength, resilience, and purpose. Every step a boy takes toward discipline is a step toward becoming a man who can be trusted, a man who can lead, a man who can stand unshaken no matter what life throws his way. A boy's instinct is to look for what feels good in the moment. He wants ease, convenience, entertainment, and instant rewards. He avoids anything that feels difficult or uncomfortable because he hasn't yet learned the value of struggle. Comfort is his priority, even if it costs him his potential. But a man understands something deeper. Growth never comes from comfort. Real progress, real evolution, and real strength are built through discomfort, challenge, and pressure. A man willingly steps into situations that stretch him, not because they are pleasant, but because he knows they are necessary for his future. A boy wants shortcuts. A man chooses the long road because he knows that the long road builds character. A boy looks for the easy way out. A man looks for the right way forward. A boy escapes difficulties. A man confronts them. He understands that every difficult task he takes on expands him, sharpens him, and prepares him for a bigger life. Growth requires discipline, patience, and resilience, all things that comfort destroys. Comfort keeps you soft. Comfort keeps you passive. Comfort keeps you dependent on circumstances. A man refuses to stay in the comfort zone because he has tasted what it means to evolve beyond it. He realizes that every moment of discomfort is teaching him something. How to control his emotions, how to stay focused under pressure, how to push through when his mind wants to quit. A man seeks growth because he knows that staying the same is the real danger. He understands that the comfort he enjoys today can become the trap that limits him tomorrow. So he chooses the path that challenges him, the path that forces him to become stronger, wiser, sharper, and more capable. In every decision, waking up early, working on his goals, controlling his impulses, managing his emotions, a man chooses growth over comfort, and that choice, repeated day after day, is what separates him from the boy he used to be. A boy reacts to life. Whatever he feels, he follows. If he's angry, he explodes. If he's tempted, he gives in. If he's tired, he quits. His emotions run him, and he becomes a prisoner of every impulse that passes through his mind. He doesn't yet understand that true strength is not in acting on every feeling, but in mastering those feelings. A man operates differently. A man understands that self-control is power. He knows that the ability to pause, think, and choose his response is what gives him authority over his own life. Instead of reacting instantly, he evaluates. Instead of letting emotions dictate his actions, he lets wisdom guide them. Self-control is a rare skill, but it is the skill that defines maturity. It allows a man to say no when his mind screams yes to things that distract him. It allows him to stay calm in situations where others panic. It allows him to walk away from drama, from temptation, from anger, and from anything that would pull him away from his purpose. A boy thinks strength is loud, shouting, showing off, proving himself. A man knows strength is quiet, because the strongest battles are not fought with others, but within yourself. The man who can control his mind, his reactions, and his desires becomes unstoppable. He can hold his ground in arguments, maintain his focus under stress, and stay committed to his goals even when pleasure tries to pull him away. Self-control builds discipline, and discipline builds identity. When a man holds himself accountable, when he keeps promises to himself, avoids pointless distractions, stops chasing instant pleasure, and controls his impulses, he becomes someone he can trust. He becomes someone others can rely on. This level of self-mastery is what opens doors. It strengthens relationships. It elevates your reputation. It protects your time. It keeps you aligned with your mission instead of wandering in circles. A man doesn't let the world control him. He controls himself first. And once a man has mastered that, there is very little in life he cannot overcome. Confidence isn't something you buy, pretend, or fake. Real confidence comes from one place, keeping your word to yourself. Every time you tell yourself you will do something, and you actually do it, you build an unshakable belief in your own abilities. Discipline is the tool that makes this possible. A boy often depends on praise, validation, and approval to feel good about himself. But a man understands that confidence must be built from the inside. It grows slowly, consistently, through actions repeated day after day. When you wake up early, even though you wanted to sleep in. When you train your body, even when you feel tired. When you work on your goals instead of wasting time. That's not just discipline, it's evidence. Evidence that you can rely on yourself. Evidence that you are capable of more than you thought. Evidence that you are becoming someone stronger, sharper, and more powerful. This evidence builds self-respect. And self-respect is one of the greatest weapons a man can have. When you respect yourself, you stop tolerating disrespect from others. You stop chasing people who don't value you. You stop settling for situations beneath your potential. Self-respect creates standards. Standards create boundaries. And boundaries protect your peace, your time, and your mission. Discipline creates a cycle. Action, progress, confidence, more action. The more disciplined you become, the more confident you feel. The more confident you feel, the more disciplined you become. A boy waits to feel confident before taking action. A man takes action first, knowing confidence will follow. Discipline teaches you that you don't need to feel ready, motivated, or inspired to begin. You simply begin. And every time you show up when it's hard, every time you push when you want to quit, every time you choose effort over excuses, you strengthen the relationship you have with yourself. A boy wants everything without giving anything. He wants success without effort, respect without earning it, and comfort without responsibility. But a man understands that sacrifice is the entry fee for every meaningful achievement. Nothing great is built without giving up something in return. Every strong, disciplined, respected man you see today has a long list of sacrifices behind him. Sacrifices no one clapped for, sacrifices no one saw, sacrifices he made in silence while others were busy chasing pleasure. Sacrifice is not punishment. It is the sharpening of the soul. It is the process through which you remove the weaker parts of yourself to reveal the stronger ones. When you choose early mornings over extra sleep, workouts over laziness, studying over scrolling, building your future over wasting time, you are sacrificing the boy inside you to build the man you want to become. A boy lives for instant gratification. A man lives for long-term reward, and the difference between the two is the willingness to sacrifice temporary pleasure for permanent progress. Manhood demands that you give up the distractions that keep you weak. Excessive entertainment, toxic relationships, unhealthy habits, and the comfortable routines that limit your growth. Every sacrifice shapes you. When you sacrifice comfort, you gain resilience. When you sacrifice excuses, you gain discipline. When you sacrifice laziness, you gain productivity. When you sacrifice pleasure, you gain purpose. A man isn't defined by what he has. He's defined by what he's willing to give up for who he wants to become. Every day he must choose, does he want the easy path or the meaningful one? Does he want to satisfy the moment or build the future? Sacrifice creates separation. It separates the ordinary from the extraordinary, the weak from the strong, the dreamers from the achievers. A boy avoids sacrifice because he fears discomfort. A man embraces sacrifice because he understands that discomfort is the birthplace of growth, power, and greatness. Sacrifice is the invisible currency of every man who rises above the average. It is the quiet price paid in moments when no one is watching, no one is applauding, and no one understands what you're doing or why you're doing it. A boy avoids sacrifice because he sees only what he loses. A man embraces sacrifice because he sees what he will gain a year from now, 5 years from now, even a decade from now. He understands that the greatest rewards in life do not come from comfort, they come from commitment. Sacrifice is the ability to say no when everything around you is screaming yes. It is the strength to walk away from the easy path, the tempting distraction, the temporary pleasure that offers excitement now but emptiness later. A man knows that every choice he makes is a vote for the person he becomes. So when he sacrifices sleep to train his body, when he sacrifices parties to build his future, when he sacrifices entertainment to develop his skills, he is casting votes for a stronger version of himself. A boy thinks sacrifice is losing fun. A man knows sacrifice is gaining freedom. Freedom from weakness, freedom from laziness, freedom from fear, freedom from regret. What you sacrifice today becomes the strength you stand on tomorrow. A man understands this deeply. He sees his sacrifices not as losses, but as investments. Investments that grow in silence and reward him later with confidence, stability, respect, and success that lasts. Sacrifice demands that you face yourself honestly. You must confront your habits, your distractions, your comfort zones. You must let go of the version of yourself that settles for less. Many people want to change their lives, but they don't want to change their priorities. They want transformation without giving up the things that are holding them back. A boy stays stuck because he fears letting go. A man evolves because he has the courage to release what no longer serves him. Sacrifice is also about time, the most valuable currency of manhood. Every minute you give to your growth is a sacrifice. Every hour spent building instead of wasting is a sacrifice. While others spend their nights escaping reality, a man spends his nights preparing for it. While others look for shortcuts, a man builds endurance. While others avoid responsibility, a man carries it with pride. True sacrifice often feels lonely. You will have days when your friends don't understand why you're working so hard. You will have nights when you question if the effort is worth it. You will look around and see people having fun while you're grinding. But a man knows something they do not. Pleasure is temporary, but progress is permanent, and he chooses permanence every single time. Deeper sacrifice also builds mental toughness. When you deny yourself things that weaken your discipline, you strengthen the muscle of self-control. This is why sacrifice is at the heart of manhood. It teaches you mastery over your urges, your desires, and your impulses. A man who cannot sacrifice is a man controlled by his cravings. A man who can sacrifice becomes the master of his own destiny. Think about every great man in history, leaders, warriors, creators, athletes, entrepreneurs. Their achievements were built on foundations of sacrifice. They gave up comfort to chase excellence. They gave up safety to pursue opportunity. They gave up approval to follow purpose. Their stories are reminders that nothing extraordinary is achieved through an ordinary lifestyle. Sacrifice also shapes your identity. It transforms how you see yourself. When you choose discipline over distraction, you prove to yourself that you are capable of doing hard things. When you choose long-term goals over short-term pleasure, you show yourself that you have willpower, maturity, and vision. Sacrifice is the silent teacher that shows you who you really are when pressure increases and temptation rises. A man becomes proud of his sacrifices because he knows they are building a life he will one day be grateful for. He understands that sacrifice is not about suffering, it is about choosing what matters most. It is about prioritizing his mission, his future, and his potential over momentary comfort. It is about shaping himself into a man he respects, a man others can rely on, and a man who stands tall because he earned every inch of his strength. As he progresses, sacrifice becomes less of a burden and more of a lifestyle. It stops feeling like something he's losing and starts feeling like something he's gaining. He begins to value the clarity, focus, and discipline that come from letting go of things that don't matter. He becomes lighter, sharper, more intentional. Over time, these sacrifices compound. What seemed like small decisions in the moment become life-altering changes. The early mornings turn into mastery. The extra work turns into excellence. The discipline becomes identity. What he gave up becomes irrelevant compared to what he gained. Strength, stability, confidence, direction, purpose, and the quiet pride of knowing he earned his life instead of being handed anything. And this is what every boy must understand. Manhood is not something you receive. It is something you pay for with sacrifice. The willingness to give up what is easy is what opens the door to becoming someone extraordinary. Consistency is the hidden engine behind every powerful man. A boy works only when he feels inspired or motivated. He waits for the right moment, the perfect mood, the spark of excitement. But a man understands that motivation is temporary. Discipline is permanent. And discipline is what produces the consistency required to achieve anything meaningful. Consistency is not about doing something once. It's about showing up every single day, whether you feel like it or not, whether the world applauds you or ignores you, whether the results are visible or still growing underground. A man knows that the seeds he plants today may not show fruit for months, but his discipline forces him to water those seeds anyway. This is where discipline becomes powerful. It removes emotion from your actions. You train when you're tired. You work when you're stressed. You focus when you'd rather relax. You keep going even when doubts whisper in your mind. Every time you push yourself to show up, you strengthen the muscle of consistency. Over time, that muscle becomes unbreakable. Most people fail not because they lack skill or intelligence, but because they cannot stay consistent. They quit too early. They stop when it becomes uncomfortable. They slow down when results don't appear immediately. But a man of discipline keeps moving. He understands that consistency is not about speed, it's about direction. It's about showing up day after day until the work becomes a part of who you are. Consistency shapes your identity. When you do something every day, training, improving, learning, working, it stops being an effort and becomes a lifestyle. It becomes the rhythm of your life. It becomes the baseline of your character. You no longer question whether to do it, you simply do it because that is who you are now. Think about how greatness is built, not in one giant leap, not in one lucky break, not in one moment of inspiration, but through thousands of small actions repeated with discipline, tiny habits that accumulate, small improvements that stack, quiet effort that compounds day after day. This is why consistency matters more than perfection. A man who is consistent, even if he progresses slowly, will always outperform the boy who works hard only when he feels like it. The world's strongest warriors, greatest leaders, best athletes, and most successful men all share one trait: they were consistent long after others quit. Discipline turns your routine into a weapon. It gives you control over your time, your actions, your habits, and eventually your destiny. When you stay consistent long enough, results begin to chase you instead of the other way around. People start to notice your strength, your growth, your confidence, your stability. Success begins to fall into place because you built the foundation for it brick by brick. And that is the power of consistency, born from discipline. It transforms ordinary men into extraordinary ones. It turns dreams into realities. It turns effort into excellence. And it turns boys into men who are respected, steady, dependable, and unstoppable. Pressure exposes the difference between a boy and a man. A boy crumbles when life gets heavy. He panics when challenges appear. He breaks down when things don't go his way. His emotions overwhelm him because he has never trained his mind to stay strong in chaos. But a man who has built discipline becomes unshakable. Pressure doesn't destroy him, it forges him. A disciplined man has already experienced discomfort by choice. He has woken up early when he didn't want to. He has trained his body when it hurt. He has forced himself to work when he was tired. He has said no to temptations that were easy to say yes to. Through these deliberate challenges, he has built a mental toughness that cannot be taught in comfort. He has trained himself to operate even when conditions are not ideal. This is why pressure does not surprise him. He doesn't collapse under stress because discipline has already taught him how to manage stress. He doesn't lose control because discipline has already taught him control. He doesn't give up because discipline has already trained him to persist. A boy reacts emotionally under pressure. A man responds with strategy. Instead of panicking, he pauses. Instead of quitting, he adjusts. Instead of running away, he confronts the situation head on. His calmness becomes his weapon. His silence becomes his strength. His clarity becomes his advantage. When life hits hard, and it always will, the disciplined man stands firm. He doesn't get lost in fear. He doesn't drown in anxiety. And he doesn't allow circumstances to dictate his future. He relies on the habits he has built, the routines he has mastered, and the mindset he has strengthened over time. These become his shields and his armor. Pressure reveals character. The weak fold, the unprepared panic. But the disciplined man rises. He understands that pressure is not the enemy. It is the test that separates those who merely talk from those who truly grow. Every challenge he faces increases his strength. Every setback increases his resilience. Every hardship increases his wisdom. A disciplined man can work under stress, think under tension, and stay focused when everyone else is distracted. He becomes the person others rely on when things go wrong, because people recognize that he does not bend easily. His presence alone stabilizes the environment. His mindset influences others. And this is why the disciplined man becomes unstoppable. Not because life is easy for him, not because he avoids challenges, but because he has trained himself to remain solid when the world around him shakes. Discipline hardens the mind, strengthens the heart, and steels the spirit. Once a man has been forged through consistent discipline, pressure becomes fuel, not fear. Freedom is not the absence of rules. Freedom is the mastery of yourself. A boy confuses freedom with doing whatever he wants whenever he wants. He believes pleasure without restraint is freedom, but in reality, it is slavery to impulses, desires, and circumstances. He is trapped by distraction, laziness, emotions, and every passing whim. A man understands that true freedom comes from discipline, because discipline gives him control over his own life. When you are disciplined, you no longer react to every temptation or emotion. You decide your actions instead of letting the world decide them for you. You rise early, work hard, and follow a plan because you have chosen to, not because someone is forcing you. Discipline allows you to create boundaries, enforce rules for yourself, and protect your time, energy, and focus. That control is freedom, the freedom to live life on your terms, to pursue your goals without interference, and to act intentionally instead of being swept along by circumstance. Discipline frees you from fear. When you have built habits, routines, and a foundation of self-control, uncertainty and doubt lose their power. You are no longer paralyzed by hesitation because you trust yourself to follow through. You are no longer dependent on luck or approval because your actions are consistent and reliable. Every decision becomes an opportunity to grow, rather than a source of stress. Discipline also frees you from mediocrity. A boy drifts, distracted by what is easy, fun, or entertaining. He chases pleasure and avoids responsibility. A disciplined man chooses effort over ease. By doing what is hard, necessary, and often uncomfortable, he builds skills, character, and results that give him power and independence. In this way, discipline transforms potential into capability and capability into freedom. The freedom to choose your life rather than be constrained by weakness or circumstance. The disciplined man can control his habits, his finances, his body, and his mind. He can pursue his purpose without distraction, say no to what does not serve him, and create opportunities that others only dream of. Discipline becomes the key that unlocks doors of opportunity and the shield that protects him from chaos, regret, and wasted time. Every great achievement, every level of success, every personal victory is rooted in the ability to master oneself. The more disciplined you are, the fewer external factors control your life. Freedom is not inherited. It is earned through repeated, intentional actions, and every act of self-control is a step toward living without limitations. A boy is free only in appearance because he is tethered to fleeting pleasures and uncontrolled impulses. A man is truly free because he has conquered himself. He moves through life intentionally, boldly, and without unnecessary dependence on anyone or anything. Discipline is the bridge between limitation and liberty, between potential and actualization, between living as a boy and living as a man. With discipline, the chains of fear, procrastination, distraction, and weakness fall away. You are no longer a slave to your moods, your cravings, or the opinions of others. You become the master of your time, your choices, and your destiny. And in that mastery lies the ultimate freedom, a freedom that only the disciplined can truly know. In the end, the journey from boyhood to manhood is not measured by age, words, or titles. It is measured by discipline, sacrifice, and self-mastery. A boy waits for life to happen to him. A man makes life happen through intentional choices, hard work, and unwavering consistency. Remember this: discipline shapes your habits, habits shape your character, and character shapes your destiny. Every early morning, every sacrifice, every moment you resist temptation, every act of self-control brings you closer to the man you are meant to become. So stop seeking shortcuts, stop looking for comfort, stop letting your impulses control you. Step up, embrace discipline, and face life with strength and purpose. Because when you do, you don't just become a man, you become unshakable, unstoppable, and free. The boy inside you may still exist, but the man you are becoming will command respect, carry responsibility, and live a life few dare to dream. The choice is yours. Discipline is the key. Take it and unlock the man within.